Top of the morning to you, friends. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm Michael Madden. This is the follow-up. In our latest editor's desk, I admit that though I'm German, I'm not particularly offended by lederhosen and cute little German stereotypes. And it kind of occurred to me to wonder, why is this? What makes it so that I'm not offended in a culture where you're supposed to be offended by everything? I'm not offended by that. I gave that some thought because it just doesn't bother me in a little bit, you know? In fact, for this follow-up, I want to even add another little problem that should make me offended. I'm Irish. And you know what's going on with St. Patrick's Day especially. Now, I feel like I have to do this because my great-grandmother came over from the old country. She lived to be 117 years old, by the way, and she smoked a clay pipe. She was pretty Irish. I don't think she'd be very happy about me saying, we're just German, we're not Irish. My own mother is deceased, God rest her soul, but her maiden name is Prendergast, you know. Her grandfather, I think, was poaching deer. We have one of those stories in our repertoire. He was poaching deer on the king's land and ran for his life and ended up in the New World. So we have all that Irish, wonderful, rich Irish heritage. And my mother, too, I think, would be pretty upset at me for leaving off the fact that I've got Irish blood, and quite a bit of it as well, in the last time we spoke on the editor's desk. So yes, I am Irish. I am proud of it, and I want you to help me now figure out why I'm not offended. Here's the thing. If you go to Google today, you're going to see this. Now, I'm not offended at all by this, and yet look at all those little Irish symbols. Look at the green stuff all over the place. And if you click on that, you see shamrocks, you see little green hats, you see leprechauns, the whole bit. When I walk into Target or Walmart, it gets even worse. I mean, it looks like leprechauns got drunk and puked all over the place, you know? Look at all that cultural and ethnic appropriation. That's terrible. Still, I work at it, not offended. Breaking news, in fact. I actually don't believe in the cancel culture. Now, I don't believe that Darby O'Gill and the Little People needs to be canceled. I don't think it has to happen. In fact, I think it's a pretty cool movie. It's got awesome special effects and a very, very young Sean Connery. God rest his soul. He passed away recently. You know, and it comes out every March 17th or thereabouts, and everybody watches it. You know what? I think it's pretty cool. No problem with that. So tonight I'm gonna actually have a little get together with my kids and family and friends, and we're gonna have corned beef and sauerkraut because I grew up in a divided house, a German father and a very, very Irish mother. You know how that whole thing goes. But I love me some corned beef with a tall glass of Guinness. Yes, I do. And I noticed that over at Wikipedia, when you click on the Google thing, you click on it takes you to a Wikipedia page, and you get this. There it is again. That Irish shamrock. The woke mob says I'm supposed to be offended by that, but I ain't. What is wrong with me? And there's more. St. Patrick, whom everyone these days calls St. Patty, you know, he was a Catholic priest. I think he was actually German, so way to go, Dad. But anyway, he was a German, and he used the shamrock to explain the Trinity. What does that mean? That means that the shamrock actually is a religious symbol. The shamrock says St. Patrick is one shamrock, 3 leaves. And, of course, one God, 3 divine persons. You get it? It's a religious symbol. And don't even get me started now on the whole green beer and the plastic green derby hat and all that. Green being the color of Catholics, right? You wore green to show that you were Catholic back in the day in the old country against the Protestant orange. It's a religious symbol, religious color even, green. So how dare you treat my people like green-jacketed little Catholic drunk leprechauns all the time? Why do I have to go through this every March 17th? I am offended. Well, sort of. But no, actually not really. In fact, not at all. What's wrong with me? Maybe it's because the Irish weren't oppressed enough in this country? Don't think that's it, because you remember that whole Know Nothing bit? The Know Nothing movement, which was all about anti-Irish bigotry, running wild in this country. They even make movies about that. Remember the Gangs of New York, for example. Now, the Know Nothing movement was a 19th century political movement that was all about racism and the promise of scourging or purifying American politics from the scourge of Irish Catholics. No Irish need apply. Those signs dotted the whole East Coast back in the day. There were church burnings and violence against the Irish from Maine to Kentucky. Go ahead, Google it. The Know Nothing movement. Very anti-Irish, very anti-Catholic. And then a little later on in the 19th century, you've got boatloads of Irish who were press-ganged the moment they walked off the boat into the harbor, press-ganged, and sent down south to serve as cannon fodder in a civil war about which they knew nothing. They had no part in the Civil War, yet they were sent down south to serve as targets, you see, by the boatloads. And this was after having survived the Irish potato famine, which was intentionally used, by the way, to starve them out of their own country. These people suffered. The Irish suffered in the old country at the hands of the English, and in the New World at the hands of just about everybody else once they got here. You know? So what do you think about it? The Irish, we got all the hate on both sides of the Atlantic. We got the discrimination. And now today, in 2021, in the middle of the cancel culture, we have cultural appropriation on steroids. Ethnic stereotyping everywhere. Our religious symbols being used to sell everything from beer to shamrock shakes and plastic hats. No problem. And why is that? All I know is that I need to be offended. I really do. And I'm working on it. And the thing is, despite all of this offensiveness, nobody's trying to cancel St. Patrick's Day parties or St. Patrick's Day parades where everyone from the mayor to the dog catcher puts on one of those stupid little green hats and walks down the street like Darby O'Gill. No problem. I guess I should be demanding that the University of Notre Dame drop its mascot, right? I mean, the Fighting Irish? Seriously? Really? You're okay with that? You know what? Newsflash, not all Irish people fight. We don't wear those little hats anymore either, and we definitely do not wear the weird little Irish coats and the funny buckle shoes either, you know? This is outrageous. I object. I'm offended. Who do I call? Where do I register my complaint? Because this is outrageous. Really trying to get worked up over here. But it just seems to me that this was an awful long time ago, and there's been a lot of water under the bridge since then. My mother's family, for example, they pushed through all that racism and all that stupid bigotry, and guess what? They got stronger because of it, and we're not looking for a cash payout for what we went through. And maybe that's just the point. Maybe nobody actually is. Because aren't you sick of this? The social justice warriors telling us who to hate all the time, enlisting us all in the great cause of social justice, virtue signaling, where we all get to be angry and offended all the time, every day, 24/7, because, well, just because every woke person simply must be blaming somebody in the world for his own emotional hang-ups, right? So no, I'm not offended by the St. Patrick's Cultural Appropriation Day. I'm just not. But I can tell you what does offend me. The woke mob and the folks in higher education and university campuses all across this country and the media trying to polarize all of us, trying to use us, exploit us for their own stupid little political agenda. Aren't you sick of it? Because I am. That, my friends, is offensive. And I think maybe we've all had enough. So on this day, happy St. Patrick's Day to you all. Let's hope the snowflakes melt and the American adults can step back out of kindergarten and go back to the real world. May your glass be ever full. May the roof over your head be always strong. And may you be in heaven a half an hour before the devil knows you're dead. Gee, I sure hope that wasn't offensive to anyone. And if it was, get over it. I'm Michael Matt from Remnant TV. Happy St. Patrick's Day, and this has been The Follow-Up.